Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It is exactly 9:48 a.m. We're on to our final interview for today. We're going to be talking to director, we're going to be talking, yes, it is the director of Donda Attorneys, managing director attorney, Melusi Xulu. Let's start that once again. Donda Attorneys, managing director attorney, Melusi Xulu is online to talk to us about the Maintenance Amendment Bill. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the program. Melusi, are you there? Zabon, if you're still tuned in, you can see now why I am unhappy this morning. I don't know if it's the weather. It has to be the weather that is playing havoc with the network. So here's another solid interview that we want to unpack. It's very meaningful for a lot of people, very especially those people who are separated or divorced. They need to know what the Maintenance Amendment Bill is all about, how they're going to further be advantaged by this piece of legislation. But once again, the weather plays havoc with the network. So we're going to try once again to get Melusi, but this time online. So please stay with us. Melusi, a very good morning to you. Can you hear me loud and clearly? And a very big welcome to you to the show this morning.
Yes, good morning, Julie, and I'm sorry for my network on the internet, so we can't do the video.
Sorry about that too. I think the weather has a big role to play as well, but no worries. At least we have you online to discuss a very important issue, and that's the Maintenance Amendment Bill. I'm not going to read the preamble because it's too long. I'm just going to look at one little piece here, and I'm going to read out one sentence so that we can focus on that particular sentence for the entirety of the program. It says to provide for where a complainant or a person acting on behalf of a complainant may lodge a complaint, to further provide for mandatory powers for maintenance officers when instituting investigations and inquiries relating to maintenance, to provide for certain entitlements and allowances to be extended to complainants, and to further provide for options to refer disputes to mediation and arbitration, and to provide for matters connected therewith. So break that down for us. Why are we looking at this issue? I thought that this was, in fact, what was happening currently as far as maintenance issues are concerned.
Okay, thanks once again for inviting me. I want to look at the first part where there's an application for allowance for substance and traveling. I think the first thing we must look at, I always say this when I talk about entitlement. If you look at our constitution, the rights of children are paramount in any matter. So now what the legislation is trying to do, the legislator is trying to meet the complainant halfway, because for you to go and lodge for a claim of containment, you need to travel to inform court. So they are now saying they're going to assist you to lodge the claim. When you come, you're going to also be assisted with traveling allowances and so forth. So that is the first point that I think is important in this amendment, right? And the second part is that whenever there's a maintenance, if you go and look at Section 10, the minute the person that has to pay for maintenance says they don't want to pay the amount that is claimed because of certain reasons, go straight to a hearing. There's no dispute resolution part that is done. Now, once that is done, it can take longer. Now, what they're trying to say is, can't you sit down and mediate and try to find a solution in a calm way instead of fighting in court? So now what they're trying to do is to say, instead of fighting out in court, sit down, find a win-win strategy for both of you so that the matter cannot go on for long. I think that is one of the things that the amendment is trying to achieve, so that it's not a a situation where there's a lot of infighting going on.
And obviously, it could turn out to be a win-win situation for all the parties concerned, plus the state, because in a situation like this, if it goes to arbitration and you can't come to any form of resolution between the parties, there are financial implications for the state, time, money, and other resources.
That's correct, because I remember when I was doing 1 minute or 2 years back when we were doing it in Newcastle. We had to travel from Devon and we had to charge our client lots of money. And at the end of the day, whatever judgment that happened could have been achieved through mediation. Instead of taking a day resolving the matter, or 2 days, we had to do the hearing. I think it lasted 5 or 6 days. It could have been shorter. So, but the other thing that I would say, which is not necessarily a negative part of this opinion, I think when it comes to maintenance, you have to be a little bit selfless. Whether you're a mother or the father or the complainant or the person that has to pay maintenance, you have to be a little bit selfless and mature and think about the fact that the people that are important here are the children. So I think that is why the maintenance matters, they grow for long or they go for long, because the parents sometimes can't come to a position where they put the children first. And I think this part of mediation might assist in the part to say, guys, calm down. We're talking about children here. Can't you find a solution that can make everyone to win and to make it to be resolved fast? So I think it's a good addition, and it also highlights the constitutional part of saying that the rights of the children are paramount, which is in Section 28 of the Constitution.
So, if you are in a very estranged relationship with your ex-partner, he or she would do everything possible to make the process as untenable as possible. How do you resolve those issues? For example, the partner might, misrepresent his earnings, hide his financial statements, etc. How does the state assist the wife or the ex-wife in this situation to get a maximum benefit? We don't want to leave the husband or the ex-husband out of pocket. We don't want to penalize him, but we want it to be a fair a win-win situation, that he pays over a fair amount for the upkeep of the children without obviously holding back, so the child is at a disadvantage. How does the state assist the woman in this situation?
First of all, that's where the bigger courts, they have the management investigator in-house. The smaller courts, if it's a small town, they usually get the maintenance investigator from outside who will do the investigation, who will get the bank accounts, statements, so that they can see if the father or the mother, because the mother can be the one who has to pay, can afford or not afford the amount. But however, sometimes, if you want maximum results, you must be a little bit shrewd and rough, because some people can say, no, I want to pay, I can't pay, whereas they can afford. That is where the amendment is also coming in. They are saying there can be an application for a garnishing order where the respondent fails to apply a provisional maintenance order, not a final, a provisional.
Right.
Which is, even if in the beginning there's a provisional maintenance order on the interim, and the person who has to pay the maintenance officer can go to the employer and say, please deduct in the event every month, and deduct 2.5 for maintenance here at the court, and then to deduct, and then at least there will be a solution. Because at the end of the day, I keep repeating this: the child is the one that matters here. Not that the parents don't matter, but the child and the needs of the children must be prioritized.
And those sort of situations, as you indicated earlier on, get the parties to sit around a table and come to a reasonable solution that works for both of them. If the husband ducks and dives and misrepresents his financial situation, does cause or creates a burden for the state, because there's that much more resources you need to put in place to track him down, track his workplace down, issue a garnishee order, etc., etc. What more do we need to know about this amendment bill, the maintenance amendment bill? How best, what more do we need to know that it will serve us in the best interest of our own positions and the positions of our children?
Okay. The other part that I saw that is interesting was just discussing with my colleague. They also allow now for provisional maintenance order to be done until the final hearing of what we call the uniform Rule 43 in High Court. In the Magistrate Court is Rule 58. I'll just explain it shortly. The Rule 43 is where maybe you're having a divorce, and whilst the divorce is happening, you want the husband that you're divorcing to be paying in the interim to pay for the divorce. So I mean to pay for the divorce legal fees, to pay for the maintenance of the children, to pay for maintenance. But in before you had to wait until that order was given in High Court. Now they are saying here, once that application is done in High Court as Rule 43 or in Magistrate Court as Rule 58, you can still get a maintenance order, a provisional one, until that High Court order is done in terms of Rule 43. So that makes it to be faster. But this amendment is trying to do, in my view, is just to make the maintenance order, the provisional maintenance order, to happen faster. And if you don't pay the provisional maintenance order or the money that you need to pay, then a garnishee order can be done. And you can even put on a listing or blacklisted if you don't pay.
Ah, okay. So if the husband absconds and you can't trace him, you have him blacklisted, and obviously
Yes.
that's going to bring him back to surface to account for his misdemeanors. Unfortunately,
Yes.
that's where we have to leave it. We've come to the end of our show, and this is indeed good news as far as the maintenance amendment bill is concerned. When does it come into enactment? Is it already in enactment, or is it still in white paper format?
I think it's still in white paper form. I tried to research yesterday. I don't think it's yet enforceable, but it's a promising bill. Hopefully, it will be done as soon
Absolutely.
as possible for the rights of the children.
Absolutely.
As soon as possible.
Okay, we look forward to that. Government's definitely on the right path as far as the maintenance amendment bill is concerned. Good news for all of those divorced ladies with children, and where they have husbands who want to obviously not take responsibility for their offspring. So that's definitely a piece of very good news. And I thank you indeed, Melusi Nkulu. You are Donda Attorney's Managing Director Attorney, talking to us about the Maintenance Amendment Bill. Thank you for being with us on the show. Go well, God bless, and a good day to you.
Thank you so
That
much.
brings us exactly to 2 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for your company on the show this morning. We do hope that you've enjoyed the interviews as much as we've enjoyed talking to our guests on the show this morning. Remember, I will be rejoining you next week, Monday, at the same time. So, in the meanwhile, please take care, stay safe, take care on the roads. And it is Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Ali. A big thank you to our controller and our producer, Nasreen Naidu, and you, Olani. Next up is Juz 3 by Sheikh Ahmed Al Ajmi.